All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, and on behalf of the West Central Association and Alderman Walter Burnett, thank you for attending tonight's community meeting for the proposed development at 1016, 1020 West Lake. My name is Armando Chacon, and I am the president of the WCA. Our director of operations, Rod Birch, is managing the logistics for tonight's meeting. This meeting is another step in the development vetting process and allows all community members to provide feedback on this proposed development. This proposal has been presented to the development committees of the WCA and now neighbors of West Loop who have not yet provided their positions or recommendations on the proposed development. The developer's attorney, Richard Clowder, will be coming on shortly to introduce himself and the developer's team, who will give their presentation for the proposal. Once they conclude their presentation, we will take questions and comments. We ask that you be respectful and courteous. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on our website tomorrow. Now, before we get into the presentation, I would like to hand it over to Vice Mayor and 27th Ward Alderman Walter Burnett. Alderman?
Thank you very much, Armando, and I'd like to thank your organization for hosting these meetings to make sure people are informed. As people know, the way we deal with development meetings, we have the developers to go to the community organizations in the area and show the proposed development. Then we have a community meeting to make sure that people who may not be involved with these organizations have an opportunity to have comments and give input on the development. We also work in coordination with the Department of Planning, who gives us input also. We hope and try to get the developer to meet with planning first. So if they have any changes to the proposed development, that we as a community see it and they don't change anything after we have our meeting. I appreciate everyone's input and concern. We'll take all those things under consideration as this proposal potentially goes to the Department of the Planning Commission and then the Zoning Board to be voted on. As you know, we don't make decisions based on views. We also encourage affordable housing in our ward. Over in this particular area, there's a 20% affordable housing ceiling, but they also encourage 10% more with city support. So with that, we're going to allow the developer and the community to allow the developer to present the community to give their comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Armando. If it's okay, I'll just pick up where he left off. I too want to thank WCA for co-hosting this meeting with Alderman Burnett. I'm Rich Clowder with DLA Piper. I have the pleasure of representing the development team on their zoning application that has been presented to, introduced to the City Council, referred to the Plan Commission, and will be heard by the Plan Commission once the Alderman grants that approval and only after the community process has run its course. So we're grateful for everyone's attendance tonight. As Armando mentioned, this project is at 1016 to 20 West Lake. That's the northeast corner of Lake and Carpenter. It's a 10,000 square foot lot. Our zoning proposal is to go to a DX7 and then to avail ourselves of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund bonus to establish an FAR of 11.5. This would facilitate the construction of a 15-floor, 143-key boutique hotel. This is a boutique hotel, but something unique to Fulton Market. It's a boutique hotel that aims to be net zero, is intentional about social impact, and is long on sustainability and health and wellness features. The visionaries behind the concept are Artie Stern, Errol Stapleton, and Jillian Catcher, whom you will hear from in just a minute, and their very accomplished design team based in New York City, M. Moser, and you will also hear from them. We think this is a very forward-thinking design, and we are obviously very interested in your comments and perspectives. We will give a brief presentation, and then we will obviously respond to any questions that we get. Armando, are we asking the questions be posted in the chat, or how do we want to receive comments from the neighborhood?
Yeah, I would, Rich, I would definitely go with the Q&A. It's better for us. So anybody has any questions throughout the presentation, you can click the Q&A and enter your question.
Okay, and then we'll handle those upon the conclusion of our presentation. So without further ado, let me hand it over to Artie Stern, who will introduce the team and introduce himself, introduce the team, and then ultimately we'll get into the presentation itself. So Artie, please take it away.
Richard, thank you. Alderman Burnett and members of the Fulton Market community, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to present to you this evening. Speaking on behalf of our entire team, we're very excited to be building this pioneering project right here in the West Loop. I mean, when we look at it, after all, Chicago has long been the home of innovation. It's been the home of the first modern skyscraper, the first Ferris wheel, even deep dish pizza. It's all started here in Chicago. And in hospitality, the deep roots of Hilton and Hyatt both started here. We hope to continue that spirit with the innovation of this project that we're going to present to you tonight. To us, this is way more than just a hotel, which you'll see as we continue this presentation. At this point, I'd like to introduce the other members of our team: Madison, Noah, Darla, Danielle, Errol, and Jillian, each of which is working tirelessly to create this new vision of a hospitality concept. One of our partners I'm going to hand off to is Errol Stapleton, who is local to the community and knows many of you. I want to thank Alderman Burnett and the members of the community for all the support that they have given us in developing this application. You've tirelessly developed and redeveloped this area, and the nation and the city is grateful for your efforts. Errol, I'll hand this over to you now.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, my name is Errol Stapleton, and I'd like to thank you very much for your time on this cold Chicago night. A little bit about myself here. I've been in the West Loop for 15 years, operating a home health care company. We've taken care of over 20,000 of our senior citizens in the Chicagoland area from our home base here on Lake Street. Very fortunate and proud to be a part of that. This project is really a passion project of mine. Wellness has been the common denominator of my entire 41 years on earth. And, I think what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish here can really have a profound effect on our community and the residents of this community, as well as travelers coming to Chicago to experience this wonderful city that we all live in. As you guys will see going forward in this presentation, from a real estate perspective, I think one of the most exciting things about this is the sustainability features that really can be on the forefront of the construction process and building process in our great city. So again, thank you guys very much for your time. And if you have any questions or concerns, we're here to answer them. And I'm going to pass it on to Jillian, our other partner, is next.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Jillian Ketcher, and I am a hotel fanatic. My first job in hotels was many years ago as a front desk agent in Washington, D.C. And now I am president of a company called Twin Bridges Hospitality. We are a asset management and advisory firm focused solely on hotels. And in all my years in this industry, I've never seen anything quite like what we're proposing here today. I think what differentiates it most for me is that it really leads with purpose first. This idea that it is sort of a three-legged stool of community, sustainability, and wellness is something really special. I think we maybe all can name a brand or even a hotel brand that does one of those things well. But I believe that there is nothing out there doing all three of those things in a compelling way. And that's what we're here to propose to you tonight. I can't wait to share more. I think you'll be as excited as we are. And thank you so much for your time.
Great. So I think I'll hand it off to Chris to just set the stage on the design, and then we'll continue through the rest of the presentation.
Hi, I'm Chris. I lead the global architecture practice for M. Moser. My colleagues Jason and Roshni are going to speak a little bit about the building, its impact on the community, and the sustainability objectives that we're incorporating into the building. Here's a few shots of the site that everyone's speaking about, that I think many of you are familiar with, at the corner of Lake and Carpenter. To go to the next slide, Jason. This is our hero shot of the building. With the ownership team and their vision, we've been trying to develop something that's timeless and modern, that fits right within the community. We're using very sustainable materials, a lot of biophilia. The glass is electrochromatic. It interacts with the glare of the sun. We're incorporating circadian lighting throughout the building. Next slide, Jason. And I'm going to pass it over to Jason to go through each one of the views that we've developed, and then to Roshni to talk about the sustainability objectives.
Good evening, everyone. So just to go through a few of the images here. First, we have Lake Street view. So this is right at the corner of Lake Street and North Carpenter, showing the amenity space as well as the entrance of the building. And I'll just kind of pass through these. The next view is from the elevated train line. So it shows that we still show the connection between the hotel space to the community. So there's that visual connection. Moving along North Carpenter Street, again, just showing how we have the biophilia and the materials contrasting, but then playing with the existing infrastructure that is on our surrounding site. And for our east elevation, we have proposed a community mural that we're working with Arthur and team to continually develop. Right now, we have a conceptual image shown, but the final image will be community based. And then just to give a quick breakdown of the building program, the first 3 floors are amenity spaces. And then moving up, we have 11 floors of hoteling and with a rooftop lounge at the top.
Like Errol, I have a great affinity for Chicago. I went to the Art Institute of Chicago, and what we're really trying to do with the ownership team is develop a building that is focused on the community, but also incorporates being in harmony with nature. We're including in a product that goes on the glass that allows birds to see a pattern, so they fly around it, not into it. So that's what this slide is representing. Roshni is going to help take us through, if you go, Jason, to the next slide, some of the sustainability objectives that we have. The team has been mentioning. This building is alignment with Chicago's climate action plan, and actually exceeds many of the goals that Chicago has laid out. Over to you, Roshni, to go through the next slides.
Thank you, Chris. So that's a good segue into looking at the various sustainability features that this building is going to consider and build on. We are considering well, LEED, and net zero, but essentially we want to focus on human health, have minimum impact on carbon, and also build a beautiful material with a beautiful building with healthy materials. So when you look at well, we have air, water, light, thermal, taking into account the occupant experience as well as some monitoring scope. Next slide, please. So the overall arching theme of well is human-centric. So you build a building that is focused on clean air, great acoustical comfort, lighting, you optimize daylight, make use of the beautiful sunlight, and only plan for fixtures that is actually required, clean water that's free of impurities, take into account what the occupants are actually saying about the building, and communicate these responses to the decision makers, as well as take innovative measures. So here we focus on other things like air, water, sound. So in innovative, we would focus on community, mind, and movement. Next slide, please. LEED, we are also focusing on various 9 categories within LEED that's focused on hospitality. Next slide, please. So we have various themes across LEED certification. It starts with site protection. So we would improve the land soil quality by doing brownfield remediation. We have optimized the site by picking a very accessible location, having walkable streets, access to outdoor nature, also plan for efficient energy planning. So we would have like a model, we would have technology integrated and make use of on-site renewables so that we optimize for energy planning. We would use the best materials in order to ensure that there's low VOCs within the building, as well as excellent recycling programs to divert waste from the landfill and ensure that we are playing that part in the community. Apart from that, we also have other indoor air quality, acoustics, and lighting metrics within LEED that would enhance the performance of the building. Next slide, please. And finally, net zero. So we are going for the net zero certification for this property. And there are two themes within this certification. One would be operational and the other would be embodied carbon. Operational carbon is essentially whatever activities that is associated with the building performance. A classic example would be lighting. So we would ensure no burning, no combustion. We would not utilize fossil fuels. We would reduce the carbon footprint by choosing really good technologies and electrical systems to ensure minimum carbon footprint when it comes to operational side of things. And within embodied carbon, whatever carbon that's stored in materials. So we would choose like low carbon materials, carbon neutral materials, and materials that can be recycled, upcycled, or reused. So we would ensure that overall the building would have low carbon footprint and achieve net zero in the end. And just to give you a visual overview of what is embodied carbon and what is operational carbon, embodied carbon would be all the materials that you use for installation, manufacturing, demolition, as well as transportation of materials. And in operational, it's your heating, cooling, ventilation, so air conditioning, refrigerant management, anything that goes into the maintenance and operations of the building.
I think it's back to me, Rich, to close out. So hopefully you've enjoyed the presentation. We're happy to get into more details and invite you to post questions in the Q&A. I note that there are only, in addition to the Department of Planning and Development Project Manager, James Gwinner, we have only 6 attendees. So I don't know if there will be a lot of questions, but we're certainly happy to take any and all of them. There's one. Do we have any confirmed tenants yet? No, we do not. We think that the ground floor will lease up very quickly, but and will be very complementary to the hotel uses, but but we have not even retained a broker yet to market the ground floor space. Lucas asked, will the building be all electric and or use solar panels? Chris or Roshni, can you speak to that?
Yeah, Roshni, I think, is typing the answer. It is electric and there will be solar on the building.
Okay, great. What is the planned approval and construction timeline? We are hoping to go to the Plan Commission in early 2024. And I know that the team is very anxious to begin construction. Artie, do you want to speak to what you think the start and timeline is likely to be?
Yeah, we are. Thanks, Richard. We're hopeful that we will be breaking ground next summer with an anticipated opening in the first quarter of 26.
Okay. Matt asks, what security measures will you apply around the site? And will you, in particular, will you participate, I think he means, in the city's camera video sharing program. I'm afraid I don't know what that is, but it seems to make a lot of sense. If anybody on the team knows what that is, please speak to it. But or maybe Rod, for all I know, you may know, but or Armando. If it, I would imagine that we would, but I can't commit to something I'm not aware of.
Yeah, Richard, let me just speak to that. Yeah, I mean, it's just a way of allowing the city to tap into the cameras that are, to a certain business's cameras. Just a way to collaborate and work together with, between, a good private-public partnership, all aimed, of course, at improving public safety. Rod, I don't know if you can add anything more to that, but that's essentially what I think it is in a nutshell.
Matt,
Yeah,
just something in the chat, so I appreciate that too. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely, working with OEMC to get access to exterior cameras so that when and if anything happens, they can have access to it and, potentially live video as well. So it is a program the city's been pushing for a number of years, and it's a free service. So something
I think it's
to develop
certainly
into
something
it.
that makes sense. I think on that basis, I can probably commit our client to that. Melody asks, please explain what the first 3 floors of amenities will include. I don't know if that's a Jillian question or an Artie or Errol question, but does one of you want to chime in with how you imagine those 3 floors to be utilized?
Yeah, I can jump in. So the first 3 floors we anticipate being a social wellness club. First, a lobby and entry level experience on Carpenter. But the 3 floors in totality will be what we call a social wellness offering or club, which is a combination of both meeting space, workspace, social space, and also wellness, which includes fitness, includes different types of classes, it also includes treatments, and all wrapped into a community of social wellness.
I'm going to ask, if he doesn't mind, Chris to talk about the vehicular circulation plan. We don't have our traffic consultant on the phone with us, but I think it's a relatively straightforward plan. So Chris, do you mind speaking to that briefly?
I'm going to ask Artie, would you mind if Jason brings up the vehicular circulation plan?
Yeah, I think Richard, if you think that would be helpful, or
Yeah,
Jason could speak, or Jason could speak to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The visual help Matthew understand the answer to the question. Because it seems like, Rich, there's maybe a couple questions on the vehicular traffic plan, if I'm scrolling down.
Yep. See if we can, I know the exhibit you're referring to, so give us 1 minute for Jason to pull it up. And Jason, if you're having a hard time, I can try to find it too.
While he's doing that, the next question on traffic, I think, is a Rich question on whether a traffic signal would be required. Is that?
I think the question is whether it would be warranted, and I believe that our traffic consultant has concluded that it is not yet warranted, but we'd certainly be open to there being a traffic signal installed at that location. I live 2 blocks from here. I appreciate the question very much, and I'd like to see one installed there as well, but I don't know whether the warrants have been met. But to the questioner, I will get an answer back to you offline. I'm looking for.
So for vehicular routing, there's a drop-off area and valet on North Carpenter. And then in the alleyway behind will be loading, but there's a loading dock berth at the back of the building, which is where trucks will pull in, park, pick up, unload, and leave. So there will be no restriction of access to the alley, which this visual shows.
And the other thing that we've been working with CDOT on is that the loading area will occur internally, so there will not be any blockage of the alley there. It's actually for the benefit of the people listening. It's actually a private alley. I think Matt knows this. It's a private alley that allows the owner of the north and the owner of the south property, which is us, to share it. And we have also set back the building an additional 7-ish feet from our north property line, which will give us the relief in the turning radius to allow us to load and unload in what's marked there as the loading dock without interfering with the passage of cars east and west through the private alley. Go back to the Q&A.
On Melody's next question, there will be new tree plantings that are shown in this vehicle route circulation plan on the Carpenter Street side, and there's layers of biophilia that were shown in the renderings on the inside of the glass through the building.
And then the last question, at least so far, is from Matt. Have we held meetings with adjacent property owners, and what were the results of those meetings, and are there meeting minutes? I confess I don't know who the property owners are to the north, so I can't answer that question. I know Errol is a property owner in this immediate area. In fact, owns the property that we're talking about now. I don't want to speak for him, but I suspect that he's had an open dialogue with that individual. But if he wants to speak to that, he should feel free. And if not, again, I will get back to Matt on that point. Okay.
All good questions.
Last one from Jane. How did trucks enter the alley from Morgan? Is that, how do trucks enter the alley? Is that from Morgan question mark, or how do they enter if they're entering from Morgan? If they're entering, they won't be entering from Morgan if they're serving our site. They'll be entering from Carpenter, and they'll be traversing the property as indicated on this diagram. I don't know that trucks have the right to access our site from Morgan, because I believe that that's also a private alley condition. I think probably as a matter of course, people do presume that that's a public alley and traverse freely. But if this were extended further east, you'd see that the alley kind of jogs when you get further east. And so it's not really it isn't a true public alley. That being said, we can only control what we own and what we have rights to. And so that's why our trucks will be directed to enter and exit the site from Carpenter.
For Jane's next question on public green space, the tree plantings I mentioned earlier are similar to the development across the street. So the greenway space will be similar to what is already there.
And lighting is important really around throughout the neighborhood, particularly on Lake Street. Has been a focus just because, being under the L tracks
Mhm.
and, it's just important, I think, for every new development to provide ample lighting for, a couple very important reasons. Can you just remind everyone of how you're illuminating that grade here?
So good question. The lighting plan is still actually in development right now, but all the lighting in the building, internal and external, is based on a circadian lighting system that's mimicking the sunrise, sunset. But we haven't fully developed a lighting plan yet.
Well, I would just say that we would want to know that in really vetting this proposal. Again, lighting on Lake Street's important. But just, public safety is something that we're really paying a lot of attention to these days. And we want to be as proactive as we can and just really intentional about this issue. I mean, it's really that important. So if you can, provide more details on that sooner than later, would be greatly appreciated.
Noted, Armando.
Thank you.
And then Jane's final question. The visual is showing a truck passing through the alleyway, so it's unrestricted. And it's also showing the loading dock, how the truck will back into it. That's what the visual is kind of showing. This visual is really more when we were going back and forth with CDOT, so they understand that the alley is not restricted at all when there's loading or unloading in the building.
Just curious is, I'm not in the hospitality business, but what is the, sort of the amount of traffic for a hotel of this size when it comes to, trucks and, whether it be the unloading and loading of all that is needed for a hotel. I guess one question is one stall enough? Is it more than enough? Is there certain times I would think that it will be used more? What information can you provide on that?
Jillian's team, who operates many hotels, has given us the amount of general loading and unloading, and this loading dock berth is more than sufficient for this size of hotel. Then frequency.
And
That's right.
also,
Go ahead.
yeah, I'm
That's
sorry,
right. We have a
Jillian,
few.
please.
Sure. We have we have worked with quite a few hotels that have around 140 rooms. And so, there's sort of standard vendors that you use, that most of the hotels use. And the schedule is such that, certain ones know that their day is Tuesday, their day is Wednesday. So it behooves everybody to sort of coordinate that and stagger it. And we haven't seen a challenge with this number of rooms and this amount of loading and unloading.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and Amanda, it's like when you look at the average delivery, I mean, some days, depending on food and beverage, and there's as little as 2 or 3 mid-size box trucks coming in over the entire day. And it never gets above 4 or 5. It's just not that kind of demand.
Okay. And the Uber drop off, where do you have that incorporated into your? Okay, right there. All right.
Yeah, one thing, Armando, this is showing is we were requested in some of the early planning meetings to mimic the curb cut that's happening. So on Lake Street, there's a current curb cut, and then we have another one that's being implemented on North Carpenter.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, Amanda, the one thing I'd like to add on with regard to public safety and the lighting plan is we very intentionally created a glass podium that opens up our building to the city and to the neighborhood, as opposed to trying to put a wall up that doesn't create harmony with the environment. So as Chris was mentioning, when you look at the amount of glass that's on that first, 3 floors, it's going to just by sheer volume liven up the entire block, just from the ambient light coming from the lobby. Regardless of the lighting plan that we put in place on the exterior, the fact that we haven't turned our back and put the bluestone all the way down, it's creating an open, welcoming environment.
Do you have a rendering that shows that? I believe you do, correct?
Yeah, if you could go back, Jason, to the Carpenter Street shot that's looking across the street from the Google building. So this is a visual of what Artie was talking about, Armando, and what we view the L train is almost kinetic sculpture, and we wanted to incorporate that energy into the building. Some of the buildings around this restrict that; they close it off for acoustical reasons. We have 3 layers of glass with a lot of acoustical properties that will shield the sound, but we wanted to invite that energy in. And as Artie was saying, the building will be illuminated over the first 40 feet, which will help illuminate the area. But this is circadian soft lighting. It's not a harsh light that will be implemented when we finish the lighting plan.
And those are real plants, correct? That are on the.
Yeah, that's real plants. Mm-hmm.
So, as you know, it's very cold today and for the next few months. How will those plants live, or can they, or would they need to be?
Yeah, we're working with vegetation experts that have implemented this type of strategy in this climate, and they will actually be non-dormant for about 10 months of the year. They may be dormant for 2. So they stay alive. They won't always be evergreened, but they will stay alive, yes.
Kind of like grass.
Yeah, the grasses, natural grasses, those types of things.
Okay.
And a lot of the biophilia you see is inside the building as well.
I'm sorry, Arthur?
A lot of the biophilia, a lot of the plants that you see are inside the building as well. I mean, that's part of our health and wellness strategy.
Yes, there's layers of biophilia as you traverse through the building. This shot, Armando, is a summertime shot, though.
Jason, can you go back to the full Carpenter Street? There we go. So that'll give you a better feel for like the inside and outside and lobby entrance.
Mm-hmm. Are you on the property line there on this corner? Or are you set back at all?
The building you're referencing?
Correct.
Everything is set back a little bit, yes.
Okay.
We're for the ownership, we're maximizing the lot and the height, but there are some setbacks, like Richard mentioned earlier, to accommodate certain things, though we're not required to.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate your kind words. I think we've answered all the questions now to the best of our abilities, and I know I owe follow-up to Matt on a couple, which I will provide. I suspect that the alderman is probably not able to close the meeting and wish everyone well and remind everyone that this is something that he will take under advisement and will revert to the local community organizations and respond to questions and concerns that they might have. So we're happy to do that. We're happy to receive emails from you with comments and questions. Armando, can I go back to you and you can wish everybody a happy holiday season?
Sure. I just want to just remind everybody that this meeting recording will be posted on our website tomorrow with Rod's help. But yeah, certainly hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and enjoy the holidays that are upon us. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or if we can be of any assistance to any of you in the community. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us tonight.
And thank you for hosting, Armando and Rod. We really appreciate it. Our best to Carla. Take care.
Yes, thank you for
Thank
that.
you very much, everybody.
Thank you
We
guys very
sincerely
much.
appreciate it.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.